Welcome back. Pour in. I hope you got coffee, whatever time of the day is, coffee or your drink or whatever you want, some popcorn, some breakfast, whatever you're feeling, because we got to talk about the Love Island Season 7 reunion from last night. The reunion was a full 2 hours, and there were a lot of things I feel like could have been dug upon a little bit deeper. But they were there for hours, and I'm sure like they can only show but so much. And there were some things that were relevant and some things that weren't. But it is what it is. I'm just glad that we got a reunion from this. There were winners of the night and there were losers of the night. And y'all can decide who the winners were, but I'm going to tell y'all who I thought the two biggest losers were of the night. Ace and Huda were the two biggest losers of the night for me. As I speak on their situations, I'm going to explain why I find them to be the biggest losers of the night. But here's a general thing. For one, Ace puffs up his chest a little bit too fucking much for someone who don't want to take accountability for him being a weirdo all season. And Huda, I'm so sick of her deflecting and acting like, oh my God, oh, woe is me. Like, no, I love you. It was a joke. I was kidding. What? While also displaying a different energy when she's talking about these situations on interviews and podcasts and whatever the case is. I will get into further detail, but let's just get started with the review. I do want to know I'm not going to go in order of everything that happened. So yeah, let's just go. Chris, I am proud of you for not budging and allowing Huda to have any kind of spatial room to even try to make herself look good or try to play it off like, oh, we don't have any problems. I'm glad, because once you sat there and said, no, we not gonna be friends, we could be cordial, she looks stuck on stupid, because she was honestly gonna sit here and say, yeah, we could be friends down the road. I'm really happy that you cut that idea off immediately. I still don't understand how many of you are Team Huda in this entire Chris situation, because as far as I see it, Chris acted the most mature out of everybody on this fucking show. Huda just don't want to take accountability for how fucking batshit crazy she acted in each of her fucking relationships. I'ma get to Jeremiah in a minute, but with Chris, from what I saw, when everybody was jumping on her on the Stand Your Business challenge, Chris was the only one that had her actual back and was telling everybody to just mind their fucking business when it comes to whatever the fuck they got going on. Chris has openly communicated and asked her, like, hey, am I doing everything to make you happy? Like, is there something that I'm doing that you're just not feeling or that's making you feel uncomfortable? And she would say, no, I think you're doing fine. Like, what about me? If he had an issue, he communicated that with her and let her know, hey, I realized the other day I was trying to give you some affection and you just didn't, you was looking around like you was embarrassed to, like, even acknowledge me or whatever the case was. And Huda gave every excuse in the book as to why she wouldn't give him any sort of, like, public display of affection, but in the same breath or in the same time, she's like, well, when you wake up in the morning, can you give me some positive words of affirmation? And then at night, can we cuddle more? And then when I want to have sex, can you have sex with me? Because if you don't, I'm going to make your day terrible the next morning, because that's what I want. And in no way, shape, or form is that any kind of normal from a fucking female. She literally took on the persona of being a shitty ass man. Like, what the hell? To be coercing someone into having sex with you is something that wouldn't fly if it was the other way around. Huda is very manipulative and very fucking nasty. And then when she leaves this villa, she goes on a fucking podcast and drags this man for filth when he ain't did shit to her besides not walk her ass across the fucking water. To get your ass on a podcast and talk about, yeah, well, his thing wasn't that big anyway. And that, like, are you mature? Are you okay? Y'all were two people that just didn't see eye to eye. He would ask you for a fucking little bit of an anthill, but you wanted all of fucking Alaska. You was just not willing to meet him halfway. Everything you asked him to do, he did for you. And the thing people need to realize about Huda, a man could do every fucking thing right for her and she's still gonna find a reason to fucking complain. Like, she's the type of girl that if you went on a double date with her and she saw how her friend was getting treated, she's going to look at you like, well, why aren't you treating me like that? Why are your hands not around me like that? She's that type of girl. There's nothing that Chris could have ever possibly done that would have satisfied Huda, because Huda doesn't even know how to satisfy her fucking self. Chris acted like a grown-ass man. If you're not willing to have adult conversations with me and talk about the shit that I feel like is wrong or you feel like is wrong, then why are we having this conversation at all? We do not need to be together. And Huda has proven several times that she's not good with communicating, especially when she's held to the fire on something that she's doing. The way Chris tried to have a conversation with her at the last dinner, and she kept jumping in and cutting him off when he would say, the issue I have with you is ... That means she don't want to hear that she's doing something wrong. You do shit to her and that's it. That's the end of discussion. That's not a healthy mentality to have, nor is that a healthy way to maintain a relationship. And Chris did exactly what the fuck he's supposed to do. This is a closed chapter. I don't see us moving any further. We will not be friends. And you disrespected me on a podcast for no reason. So shout out to Chris for doing what the fuck he was supposed to do. Huda, you're childish. You're immature. You don't need to be in a fucking relationship. You need to find a relationship with yourself first. Because really, how you conducted yourself on that fucking interview was kind of insane. You act like this man spat on you and punched you in your face. For you to sit here and literally like talk about him, and then when you're sitting in his face, you're like, oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, no, fuck you, bitch. And the crazy part about it, Chris also let us know that she never apologized about it up until a day or two before the reunion. So he's like, there was an agenda with this because she had all this time to sit here and apologize, and she didn't. And her response was, well, I saw the hate he was getting online and it was weighing down on me, so I just felt like I should reach out and apologize. Bitch, are you fucking kidding me? You're the reason why he's getting all of this hate. You're talking that shit on the internet. If it was weighing on you that fucking bad, as soon as the interview came out, you should have spoke up to him and said, yo, honestly, I'm looking back at this interview. I shouldn't have said what I said and I fucked up. I'm sorry. I have no beef with you. There's no smoke. In the moment, I was angry. I was emotional. We were fresh off the villa. I fucked up. That was not adult of me. But no, you wait until a day or two before the reunion for you to sit here and be apologetic. Bitch, you got me fucked up. That's a woman who means exactly what the fuck she says up until it doesn't serve her a purpose anymore and she wants to look good at the end of all of this. The way Huda conducted herself this reunion was pissing me off because she didn't take accountability for much. It was just I didn't mean it like that and I'm sorry. You know I love you, bitch. Like, stop doing that. Let me stop talking about Huda before she make me pop a fucking blood vessel early on in this goddamn review. Let's move on to Olandria and Taylor. First things first, Taylor, realistically, that apology was fake as fuck. It was weird as fuck. And I don't even like that you ended that off saying, you know you my dog. You know you my dog. No, the fuck. I'm not your dog. You just embarrassed me on national television. So when Olandria was explaining her perspective of the relationship she had with Taylor, she was like, I really didn't understand why everybody was saying I was chasing him and I was looking stupid and I was looking crazy, because what I was experiencing from Taylor in the villa was not the same as what you guys were being shown on TV. I had no idea that day 2 of us even talking or experiencing or whatever the case is, he's over here talking about he's just not physically attracted to me. What? Which made this whole situation even worse because it feels like Taylor was literally being super manipulative because you realistically was just not being affectionate with her because in your mind, you're not attracted to her, but you also identified that she's sitting here telling you, I appreciate you for allowing this to just be a slow burner because I'm not just jumping your bones. You're like, boom. That's how I can mask how I truly feel about her. You give calculated. Now, do I think Olandria could have read the room a little bit more? Yes. However, I 100% now do believe that Taylor was just being completely different to her than what we were seeing on TV. We were seeing the truth about how he felt about Olandria. Olandria was seeing part of the truth. And in turn, it did make her look crazy on national television. And that's all his fucking fault because he just don't know how to fucking communicate as a grown-ass man. The apology, it really just felt like, we're on national television. Everybody still hates me and they still in my comments talking about this. So let me apologize. And hopefully Olandria will, be nice to me and get the heat off my back. It didn't give genuine at all. And then for you to sit there and talk about, you my dog. Like, you always going to be my dog. That felt very, very weird to me because you just embarrassed me on national television and had a hee ha ha on my expense. For you to sit here and say, but we still friends though. I don't think Olandria wants to be friends with Taylor, but because Taylor and Nick are best friends outside of the fucking villa, she's going to have to deal with him into some capacity, which is why I think she just didn't cut off any idea of a friendship with him. But Taylor, there's just no way you're winning this situation because realistically, you just made this entire situation worse. That apology was ass. Your explanation was ass. It was all ass. And Coco, you someone else that didn't do any fucking better either. Because your explanation, while it made sense, it didn't make sense either. You've been scrambling for like the past month trying to get back into Olandria's good fucking graces because you know you fucked up. She did a podcast with Winter Blanco, who used to be on Bad Girls Club. Did a podcast with her and said that, yeah, Olandria came in there, she was all like, my man, my man, my man, my man, my man. And then like kind of rolling her neck and popping her shit a little bit. And so respectfully, Olandria said, I'm just not going to be fucking with her. I'll talk to her when I get to the reunion. Coco has constantly been trying to reach out to Olandria, even like reaching out to her from other Islanders' lives that's hanging out with Olandria, like crazy. And I wouldn't give it no response either because you're scrambling to get this response from me. I'm not going to give it to you. But when I see you at the reunion, I'm going to give you the response that you're looking for. And Olandria, I like that you did that with such class because had it been me, I would have been like, bitch, you being weird. Coco, you saying you wasn't trying to be shady. You 100% was trying to be shady towards Olandria. And I love that Olandria called you out and said, we haven't even had a full conversation for you to even have this perception of me. And when she asked everybody else, she said, did y'all hear me coming here talking about my man, my man, my man, my man, my man? And everybody said no. Clocked it. So Coco, what are you talking about? You don't even know me in that capacity. So why are you even saying anything about my character? However, I will say this. I feel like Coco took that moment from one of Olandria's confessionals where she did come in and she said, my man. And I think she said it maybe twice in reference to Taylor when she came back to the villa. But I do not think Olandria was just openly out there in everybody's face talking about my man, my man, my man, my man, my man. That's not the energy Olandria gives. And then your explanation, Coco, of, yeah, no, when I was talking about my man, my man, my man, that means I thought that she was locked in with Taylor. I thought she was locked in with Taylor. And it's like, Coco, while I understand what you're saying, it doesn't make sense to me because you was a first-hand witness with Clark about how Taylor was acting when it came to Clark. Taylor looked more locked in with Clark than he did Olandria. Now, granted, you didn't see the relationship or didn't see much of it before you got into the villa, but you saw that Taylor was clearly locked in when it came to Clark. So why would you sit here and throw out this idea of like, oh, well, I thought y'all two was locked in? How? He was with fucking Clark most of the time. And then I also feel like your apology, it just looks so much worse because of the fact that you were scrambling for the past month to get in contact with her and talk to her and apologize and be nice to her and say all these nice things after you done sat here and essentially like slayed her on a fucking podcast. You added on to this narrative that Olandria is kind of mean and that she's this, and that. I also want to add that Olandria and Shelly in this moment also decided to call out all the other Islanders who were adding on to this narrative that fucking Olandria and Shelly were bullies and mean girls. They called out Vanna. They called out Coco. They called out, I forgot who else it was. It was a third person that they called out. And everybody decided to backpedal and say, oh, no, it wasn't supposed to be taken like that. No. You know, the media always spin stuff, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, they can't spin something that you didn't say. And that's exactly what you said. And they had the opportunity to use that against you and use it against me and make me look bad. Yeah, I got a problem. But Coco, girl, you didn't make yourself look no better. You didn't. You really didn't. As far as Ace and Jeremiah goes, Ace has this deep-rooted issue with Jeremiah, and I really wish that the interviewers, Ariana and fucking Andy, took time to really grill Ace about what his beef is. Because when I see these two interact with each other, Jeremiah to some extent is still being light and like, I'm not taking no hard feelings about this, but it did make me feel away at the time. Whereas like with Ace, he's like, yeah nigga, like that's the energy I get from Ace when it comes to Jeremiah. Like it gives Jeremiah is not taking all of this to heart, but Ace is for whatever reason, and specifically when it comes to Jeremiah. And I really wish we could have an understanding of why, but it just, nah. We didn't get it. Ace felt really offended that people was calling him a ringleader. But like, Ace, did you watch the season back and see how the fuck you was moving around this villa? Yeah, you let everybody think or had everybody thinking you was a fucking ringleader. And then when you're showing this conversation between you, Nick, and Taylor, you and Taylor had a lot to fucking say. Nick was the only one who was like, yo, I didn't want I don't want Nick to go. If he's going to have a connection with Andrina, he has the right to explore that. Boom. The only one that made sense. So Nick has been absolved from any wrongdoing when it came to Jeremiah. You, however, Ace, when Jeremiah would sit here and literally just say a joke amongst the boys, you took that shit to heart and said, oh, yeah, see, he's about to love bomb again. And then when Jeremiah's like, well, when I said this, did you feel like I was being serious? Everybody was like, no, I took it as a joke. Ace, you're literally just looking for things to like nitpick at when it comes to Jeremiah. And then in this interaction, when Jeremiah is sitting here and calling you out about certain things, you're not willing to hear it. You kind of acted like Huda in the moment. Because the second he was like, well, I didn't appreciate the fact you called me a scammer. Oh, well, Austin, why'd you say this about me? You bullying me. Da-da-da. It's like, wait, why are you deflecting? I just said I had an issue with something you did. Why are you talking about anybody else in this moment? And that right there is the reason why I say Ace is the biggest fucking loser. Because several people had to address their issues when it came to him. And all he did was fucking deflect and then point fingers. If you are supposed to be this outstanding grown man that you're trying to portray yourself to be, if someone says they have an issue with you, you have to sit here and fucking apologize and eat that shit. The only thing you quote unquote apologize for was sending Jeremiah home early. That wasn't enough. Because you were still being a dickhead for the rest of the season. Having his dick in your fucking mouth when he wasn't even there. Like, any little tiff that came up, it was like, oh, this reminds me of Jeremiah. Yeah, Jeremiah. Yeah. And you did call him a scammer. For what? How is he scamming? Because even Huda don't feel like he was scamming. But get back to Jeremiah and Huda in a minute, because Huda looked fucking stupid when she was having a conversation with Jeremiah. But Ace, I need you to really figure out what your actual problem is with Jeremiah, because I think it's so much more than just, oh, he was latched onto her too quick. Because you was latched on to fucking Shelly from day one. You just went terrible about it. You said that he was hopping around too fast. I mean, what do you expect the man to do when new bombshells come in? You're supposed to test your connections. You did the same thing, Ace. So how is he a scammer? Are you a fucking scammer? Because we could sit here and say you're a scammer because you knew Shelly before this, and you two did confirm y'all did have some level of conversation before this. So when y'all got here, y'all already knew y'all was kind of feeling each other. So are you a fucking scammer? I just can't take Ace serious. Like, I don't look at him as someone that I would respect. I wouldn't. I just can't. And the fact that Charlie stepped up and was like, honestly, ringleader, I don't know, but I will say this. Ace was the main person going around the villa asking people everything about their business and how they feel about it and what they feel about somebody else's situation and so on and so forth, which in turn made me feel like I needed to have my guard up. The fact that Charlie, who's only in that villa for what, 3 or 4 days, felt that way and dealing with you for those 3-4 days, Ace, that says a lot about you. And I want you to understand, you could be a ringleader without necessarily making these fucking decisions. You can't be a ringleader if there's not people that's just following along with what the fuck you say. And as far as I see it, most of the time it was Taylor and motherfucking Nick. Apart from this Jeremiah situation, because Nick absolved himself. Whatever you said, it did go, it did fly. The guys came to you for advice. You tell them what to do and they did it. Period, point blank. You was the ringleader. Realistically, you were. Y'all can sit here and say, well, it's just him expressing his opinion, and that's fine. But my beef with him is when people is expressing their opinion about you, don't sit here and start deflecting and talking about everybody else that got nothing to do with the situation that they're talking about right now. That's corny. You're lame. It's giving, everybody does something to me, but I never do anything to everybody because I'm an outstanding man and I just tell it like it is. No, boo-boo. That's not how that works. I was convinced after listening to this back and forth interaction between Huda and Jeremiah that Huda doesn't know what love bombing is, and she just learned what that shit was from looking at shit on social media, and not everybody on social media is correct about what the term love bombing means. By definition, love bombing is an attempt to influence a person by demonstrations of attention and affection. It can be used in different ways for either positive or negative purposes. Psychologists have identified love bombing as a possible part of a cycle of abuse and have warned against it. So in other terms, for someone to love bomb you, there has to be an intent, a malicious or like manipulative intent behind it. And Jeremiah had asked Huda, do you think I was love bombing you? She said, well, yeah, I do. I feel like he was doing a lot. And Jeremiah was like, okay, say that. So by definition, do you think I was trying to manipulate you into doing anything? And she followed up and said, well, no, I don't think that. And then Jeremiah shut that shit down immediately. The way that he broke that shit down, she couldn't even say anything after that. No one on that stage could say anything after the way he broke that shit down. And based on her responses, she don't know what the fuck she's talking about. Jeremiah said, okay, so if by definition I'm over here showing you all this attention and affection so quickly and I'm just love bombing you because I'm trying to manipulate you, you're saying I'm not manipulating you, and then you're saying I did too much, but then on the show you're saying I'm not doing enough. So how the hell am I love bombing you if I wasn't doing enough? And Huda was, shut up. You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, Huda. And it shut Ace up too, because nigga, what the fuck are you talking about? You over here talking about I'm love bombing. Do you understand what love bombing is? Do you honestly sit here and think that I'm manipulating this girl and whatever the case is? And I did think Jeremiah was a little bit fucking weird in the beginning because I felt like he was doing too much too fast. And he himself admitted where I went wrong is I liked the girl too fast, too quickly, and that's that. It was not love bombing. I was not love bombing her. I wasn't trying to manipulate her. I wasn't like, no. But then also in the same breath, I feel like we could sit here and openly say that Huda was love bombing. And I hate that no one stood up and said that about her. Because if you're going to sit here and say Jeremiah was love bombing, Huda, you was love bombing. And you was also being manipulative about it, because the way that you would do little things to make sure no one else touched him, got in contact with him, would pick him, so on and so forth. Like, let us not forget the hickey that she intentionally left on his neck so that way Amaya or whoever else couldn't get to him or talk to him. Like, is that alone not the definition of love bombing? She left that hickey on his neck talking about I just want to kiss you. I just want to kiss you. Knowing that her truest intention was to make sure nobody talks to him. So once again, Huda is always allowed a way out, but everybody else got to be held to the flame. Huda did the love bombing. Let's be fucking honest. Was Jeremiah weird? Yes. Do I still think he's weird to this day? Yes. That opinion never changed. But I love the fact that he broke it down so fucking much. And also use what Huda was saying on the show as an example. There was nothing no one else could say. Let's dead this whole love bombing thing right now. I just liked her a little too quick early on. It is what it is. It didn't work out for me. This is where I feel like reading and doing some independent studies is imperative in these situations, because I could tell that how Ace and Huda was talking about love bombing was coming from internet people who think they know it all. Because as someone who has studied, psychology in college, it was my minor, I could tell you by definition what Jeremiah is saying is correct. There has to be a level of intent. There has to be something from it. A good example of love bombing would be like R. Kelly. He would show up as a celebrity, spend all this money, talk all good to the parents, all this other stuff, knowing that he's about to sit here and R-word these fucking kids that he's taking from these parents. That's love bombing. He was showing an excessive amount of affection and care and tenderness, knowing that he wants nothing to do with these people but besides get his dirty little stinky ass rocks off. It was better for him, but it did nothing for the person on the other end. There was full manipulation tactics in place to keep these girls with him so he can constantly commit this crime. Now, I'm not talking about what the parents' part in this. I'm just talking about R. Kelly himself. That man was a professional love bomber and manipulator that was a fucking criminal. And the added layer to this love bombing was also just power dynamics. R. Kelly is white hot at the time and using that level of fame to threaten anybody that's trying to save their children. Yeah, love bombing. So do I think Jeremiah was love bombing? No. Do I think Huda was love bombing? Yes. She has had moments where she has definitely exemplified a lot of love bombing when it came to Jeremiah. And no one's going to call her out on it, but I will. And of course, I can't take my foot off Huda's neck. Let's have a deep conversation about this friendship fucking dynamic. Because Huda, you're a piece of fucking shit. So I love that Love Island took the time to address the racism that both Shelly and Alandria was facing outside of the villa. And we got the real backstory on the interactions that these two had with Huda. Shelly and Alandria are emotionally talking about the stuff that they were facing on the internet from specifically Huda fans. All that shit started popping off as soon as Shelly and Alandria tried to hold Huda to some level of an accountability. Y'all started calling them bullies, and the next thing we know, we're seeing posts of them getting punched in the face on like BuzzFeed as a meme, and we have Alandria being treated like George Floyd with Huda's face on Derek Chauvin's face. We have influencers, male influencers, using a boxing fucking dummy and punching it, saying, yeah, that's Shelly and Alandria, like that's what I would do to them. Like, that's crazy. Now, before anyone says that I'm being biased here, please know I did a video saying that anybody that was calling CPS or Ice on Huda have lost their sense of reality and they need to go fucking touch grass and read a fucking book. Because there's no way in hell that any of you should be going above and beyond to go attack people that you don't fucking know like that. They are on a TV show that is being heavily fucking produced and heavily fucking edited. There's a bunch of shit that we have to acknowledge that we are not seeing. So what we are watching, we have to take for what it is. For massive publications to sit here and join in on this racial hatred and biasness when it came to fucking Huda and Shelly and Olandria is absolutely disgusting. You had Time magazine directly misquoting Shelly to make her look 10 times worse than what the actual fucking interaction was. BuzzFeed putting fucking Shelly's face on a sandwich next to a pair of hands talking about this is what we would give Shelly, essentially saying they would give her a knuckle sandwich, essentially punching on her face. Like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? And just here's my take when it comes to dealing with non-black people. I typically, while I'm very nice and I'm open to everybody until you show me otherwise, I will typically have my guard up a little bit when it comes to people that are not black, because the black experience is, yes, there will be people that want to be in close proximity to our blackness, but they don't want to be in close proximity to us. So my advice for anyone that is not black, that is deciding to openly and publicly be friends with someone that is black, you better be ready to stand 10 toes down. Because a part of the black experience, you're going to witness your friends, your people, your wife, whoever it is, you're going to witness them deal with unnecessary levels of racism, acts of violence, ignorance. This is a daily basis for black people. This is our fucking story. You're going to openly see people treat your black friend, family, whatever you want to call it. You're going to openly watch them be treated completely different than how you're treated. And if you don't use your privilege as a non-black person to combat that racism and educate people about black people in general, or just even come to the defense of your friend, you're doing a disservice and you're not doing anything to be a friend to your fucking friend, period. And Huda did exactly fucking that. She did not stand 10 toes when it came to being close friends with two black women in the fucking villa. When Olandria was speaking, she said her and Shelly sat Huda down and had a conversation with her about what the fuck her fans were doing and saying in regards to them both. Huda made it very clear the entire fucking reunion. Like, oh, Shelly and Olandria were my closest friends. They were my best friends. Like, I love them girls down. They my bitches. Da 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 da. Olandria is like, listen, all of your fans are doing racial tirades against us. Can you at least make some level of a response in regards to the racism towards us? Because it is like, it's killing me. Like, we all saw how Olandria's energy was so different and she was so drained when she left the villa. And Nick confirmed that there would be times he would have to rip the phone away from her because all she was reading was these negative racist comments that was literally fucking with her mental. And Huda was also in the same fucking house that they were in, witnessing Olandria go through these mental tirades. So Olandria and Shelly are coming to you as someone that you say are your best friends and saying, listen, the people that support you are hurting my feelings really bad. Can you please at least just sit here and speak out and say, listen, the racism is not cool. Like, these are my friends. Please stop. Granted, does Huda have the ability to control how everybody else is acting and saying and doing? No. But the fact that you speaking up for your friends not only show that you really fuck with them on a different level, but you're taking a stand against racism and you're not a weird bitch. Shelly and Olandria both have addressed racism, not just their racism, but racism across the board, even the racism that I guess Huda was facing to a certain extent. But Huda, after being asked to do the post, and she agreed to do this post, she did not do the post. And that's when Olandria was like, I'm not fucking with this bitch. And when she was asked why she didn't make the post, she said, oh, I was so busy with other things. And that right there is the black experience. Black people are always told, maybe next time. I'm too busy to hear you out. I'm too busy to deal with this. Nobody cares right now. We're dealing with something else. Even down to Black Lives Matter. We try to sit here and at least say like, hey, we're here too. And we're being told, yeah, that's cute, but it's about everybody, not just you. And that's essentially what Huda did just now. Yeah, I see the racism that you guys are facing, but I'm too busy to sit here and tell my fans to stop. And she said, yeah, and when I was on a podcast, I did address it. But from what I remember on a fucking podcast that she did, she said, oh, well, if I'm not hating on Olandria and Shelly, neither should y'all. And how does that make it any fucking better? Because if you was hating on them, you're saying that your fans should hate on them too. Like, I want you to be smart. I really want you to be smart, Huda. I do. So you telling me you didn't have time on a fucking flight running around after this nigga on Netflix? You ain't had time to fucking type up a post to just schedule a post later on? At no point you took a shit. No point you was just sitting there in your bed watching TV and just didn't write this post. You had ample time to say something to your fans and you did absolutely nothing. And I hate the fact that you even responded and said, well, I dealt with racism too. Bitch, that's not what the fuck we're talking about. The amount of racism that Huda faced is nothing compared to what fucking Shelly and Alandria was facing. You do not have publications throwing out these racial stuff when it came to fucking Huda. In fact, you have major, massive corporations and companies coming to Huda's defense to spite Shelly and Alandria. I didn't see Huda being used as a meme of a dead person. I didn't see people telling Huda they want to come to their house and hang them on a tree. I didn't see that. Sorry, I just didn't. Maybe I'm speaking a little bit ignorantly because I'm not a part of the Huda fan base, but this is a little fucking ridiculous. And the fucking difference, Huda, you dumbass bitch, is that the two black women who dealt with racism spoke out openly against racism. You, on the other hand, saw the racism actively happening and didn't do shit. And to double down, you're saying you got racism too. So you just didn't want to speak up in defense of yourself either? Yeah, my intentions, whatever your intentions were, excuse me, I don't believe you. Your intentions is just not there for me. I'm sorry. And since we here, a lot of y'all motherfuckers came into this season thinking that Huda, Shelly, and Alandria was going to be this season's Leah, Janae, and Serena. And yeah, no. Because last time I checked, the first thing Leah did when she came out that fucking villa was address the racism. She shut that shit down. She said, listen, I fuck with y'all for fucking with me. I love y'all down to the core. However, if you love me, you coming at the two girls y'all watch have my back this entire season is kind of crazy. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not someone that's standing for racism, not one fucking bit. These two girls are some of the most genuine girls I've ever met in my life, and I'm not going to tolerate any type of racism. So if you're going to be racist and if I see it, I'm blocking you, and that's that. That's essentially what she said. I probably added a lot more, but whatever the case was, Leah just shut that shit down on sight. The irony of that is that you're dating Leah's man's former best friend. Yeah, let's really get into it. They asked her early on in the episode if she's in a relationship, and she said, well, I can't talk about it because I'm in Netflix. I can't talk about it. The reason she can't talk about it is because she's dating this guy, Louis, who is known to be Miguel's best friend. The other reason she can't talk about it is because he's on this dating show called The Perfect Match on Netflix. He's actively on a dating show right fucking now, and this is not his first rodeo on a reality TV show. And from the interactions in this sudden of talking about Leah and talking about Miguel and trying to put whoever on a pedestal lets you know that Louis is not a genuine fucking person. Leah and Miguel both said that he has openly said his reasoning for dating Huda and they just didn't agree, which is why Louis started talking that shit. And Huda, like the hopeless romantic she is not going to hear any of that. She's just going to go on and just deal with whatever. He's giving her crumbs. He's giving her shit. This man is dating her for the clout because he wants the same amount of attention and sponsors that Miguel got from his relationship with Leah. And just to backtrack a little bit, it took you probably hours to get your hair and makeup done. You were sitting in that chair doing absolutely nothing. You had time to sit here and make a post addressing the racism when it came to two people you called your best friend. You have proximity with another girl who is not black, who got two black friends, and she openly spoke about the racism and said, that's a dead deal. Fuck that. These are my bitches, and I'm 10 toes down with my girls. You had a close proximity to someone like that, and you still couldn't even follow suit. Yeah, Huda, I'm really not fucking with you. And you did add on to this negative narrative that everybody had about Shelly and Alandria, because you're sitting on podcasts being vague saying, well, I felt like I was being bullied and some of the things that y'all were saying hurt my feelings and blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, Huda, would you like to address about how you bullied everybody else? You bullied the fuck out of Amaya. You bullied the fuck out of fucking Iris. And when they showed those clips, you sat there and hee-hee-ha-ha about it like that shit was cute. They showed the clip of when everybody was having a conversation. When it was Sierra, I think Nick, Taylor, and Shelly. They was sitting there just talking and addressing something about Huda. And they just so happened to look in her direction because she's sitting there doing poses like, yeah, y'all talking about me? And then they laugh. She's like, yeah, that hurt my feelings. Okay, well, what about when you hurt Amaya's feelings, calling her all types of bitches and weirdos and whatever the case was? What about when you was sitting there looking all up in Iverson and Jeremiah's mouth when they was kissing, talking about, bitch, you better back the fuck off? You don't think you're a bully to an extent, Huda? Everybody's bullying you, but you don't bully nobody else? And then I know you was actively on social media, because a lot of the things that you was saying in your podcast, I definitely seen on Twitter or on TikTok to some extent. You know that they was coming up with this whole they're a bully thing from the Stand Your Ground challenge. And you're going to go on a podcast, not say any fucking names, but also say, yeah, I feel like they was bullying me during that challenge. Knowing that the two people that everybody's saying is bullying you is the two people you say you love and care about the most. I'm glad Shelly and Alandria said she can live her life the way she wants to live it, but we will not be a part of that. We will... Good to see you, girl. We would like her from a distance. She is not someone that's going to be in our orbit. I'm glad Huda left here with nobody really on her fucking side, maybe except Amaya. Huda is very nasty. She has a very nasty spirit and masks it behind her. Oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. You know I love you. No, I would have never meant it like that. But it's taking her so long to come to this realization she didn't mean it like that. She gets fueled by her fans to feel like she's right, and then when it comes time to stand on business, she wants to backtrack. That is someone that you do not need around you, because they are never going to be 100% with you. Moving on. Ace, what was your purpose in calling out Amaya? And let me explain the reason why I'm not fucking with him even remotely saying anything to Amaya and bullying and whatever the case is. Because, nigga, what the fuck did you do to her in the villa? You're insulted at the fact that she played off a clip about you being smaller or shorter. Nigga, grow the fuck up. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have a right to feel the way he feels, but also let us remember exactly how he treated Amaya the entire time that he was, quote unquote, coupled up with her. He literally had all of the men in that house acting like they were scared of her because she was the only one that was defending her fucking self when it came to this narcissistic ass little man. That's bullying too. Having the whole house look at someone who did absolutely nothing wrong, having everybody look at her like she's crazy is bullying. It's manipulation. And I love that they showed the clip of Brian telling you, like, yo, you're over here stressing about the term babe. That's something that's natural in a Hispanic household. You want her to do whatever the fuck you say, but you're not even willing trying to understand her background and where that even comes from. You ain't meeting her halfway. She got to meet you halfway. And that was always the problem with you, Ace. You was never trying to hear someone else's perspective or someone else's thoughts. It was what you say goes. That's why you was the ringleader. And the fact that you took the fucking time to sit here and all of a sudden switch to, well, yeah, Amaya, I felt like you this, that, do. And she said y'all had a conversation about it, so why are you even bringing it up? You was like, well, yeah, I want to bring it up right now anyway. For what? If we have already squashed it, why are you bringing this up on national television? You was trying to say, oh, well, you say you don't stand for bullying, but you was bullying me. Okay, Ace. Well, you're going to sit here and say she's a hypocrite. So are you. Because at the Stand Your Ground challenge, for whatever reason, you opened up your fucking mouth when she was having a conversation with Austin talking about some, yeah, well, you sitting there calling me babe. That shit was weird. I ain't like that shit. And then when she storms off the stage crying, you chasing after her like, what's your purpose? Wasn't you the main nigga sitting here making everybody else feel like, oh, Amaya's just too fucking much? And now all of a sudden you care about her and you want to console her? Fuck you. You should have left Amaya out of this. If y'all had a conversation and y'all don't have no beef and y'all cool, there's no reason to bring that up and start puffing your chest up at her. You gonna stop puffing your chest up at the girls in this villa because you don't even meet the height requirements, sir. Knock it the fuck off with this Napoleon complex. For real. The heart rate challenge. They showed the full clip of what Huda did with Ace during that challenge. Huda definitely licked that man's pee-pee. And she definitely did turn around and shake her ass in his face when the challenge was done. And tell me if anybody heard this, but when she was making out with Ace, she was moaning. And I 100% understand why Shelly was annoyed, because if we are these close friends, we're best friends, I should not have to sit here and tell you what is a boundary that you cannot cross. I feel like it should just be natural. Like when you really love and care about someone, whether they're your friends or your partner, there's just things you automatically know from common sense. Like, all right, maybe doing this is going to cross the line. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Granted, this was a challenge, but everybody kept it relatively cute. You went above and beyond. And then when Shelly called you out and said, now, if it was Jeremiah and I did exactly what the fuck you did when it came to Jeremiah, Huda was like, oh, well, with Chris, We're not talking about Chris. You are not going to sit here and try to like switch out the narrative or switch up the person to fit this whole. I wouldn't have felt the way. If it was specifically Jeremiah, how would you have fucking felt? And you know Huda would have been pissed. Because anybody that even looked at Jeremiah, she was getting all crunchy about. And so for Huda to sit here and act like, well, I don't understand what the issue was. It was just a challenge. Sure, it was just a challenge. But when everybody else was doing just a challenge with Jeremiah, you was feeling away every fucking time. And they did the bare minimum of just kissing that man. These standards that you have for everybody else, you don't have for your fucking self. And then want to act like, well, why are you mad? And Shelly was dead ass right. On the show, you're so apologetic. But then when you go on a fucking podcast, you're over here like, well, yeah, I just did the challenge and it is what it is. Shrug shoulder. Like, girl, what? That's a totally different energy than what you was giving me. So that means you really didn't give a fuck this whole time. But Shelly, I do have to clock you. Because as I'm watching this clip, I'm also looking at Ace heavy breathing like a dog in heat. He's sticking his tongue out. He's kissing on her. He's like, his dick is getting hard. Like, what the fuck? He's grabbing on that ass. He's making her bounce on the dick. Like, Shelly, did you not see that? Because I feel like you should have turned to Ace and said, you got me fucked up too. Because you was a little too hype in them clips. For what? If we're going to say Huda was doing a lot, Ace as a man who is damn near locked in with you should get the same amount of fucking hate too. Because if he hated Huda as much as he said, he wouldn't even be remotely down with none of this. It would have just been like, okay, great. Woohoo. All right, get off of me. But no, he was like, yeah, I'm ready. Oh, yeah. Oh, like going crazy. I already know they probably had a conversation off camera about this, but I think Shelly should address him on camera because it was two people we saw in live action 3D act a fucking fool in front of you. And Shelly, I have to clock you once again. They showed the entire clip of the conversation Huda and Shelly had in regards to bringing Chris back to the villa. From what I watched, I think Huda was very clear. She's like, yeah, I'm really feeling Chris myself, and I would love to bring him back so that way I can experience him. And I also know that you're talking to him, so you can also experience him as well. I heard the intention. I get it. Cool. Shelly, you throwing me off a little bit? Because in what world did you think, right, that Huda was strictly bringing that man back for you? Because you keep putting this emphasis of, well, she said she was bringing him back for me. It's this notion that she was doing something for me. Again, in what world do you think that this girl who just told you she's feeling Chris as well is just bringing him back solely for you? You're not the only person that was interested in Chris. So what the fuck? And on top of that, you was still hobnocking on Ace's dick. So again, in what world do you think Huda was strictly bringing Chris back for you only? And then you spin this narrative to Olandria, which made her talk out of turn at the Stand Your Ground challenge on some, well, yeah, you want to tell the class why he was making out with Chris? Because I like him, and I told the bitch I liked him, and I'm bringing him back because I want to talk to him, and everybody here in the villa knew that, so how the fuck you two don't know shit? Shelly said, oh, it was multiple conversations that we had. Like, that just wasn't the full gist of it. But I feel like that was the full gist of it. And now you're just a little embarrassed because now seeing the entire clip, it does look bad on you, Shelly. I can't even lie. Like, I'm always open to defend you, but I'm always open to tell you when you're wrong. And in this situation, you was absolutely fucking wrong. And I'm even more annoyed you got me defending Huda because what? I don't like this girl whatsoever. You was really pressed over Chris, knowing that you didn't even want to be with that man. You was just looking for someone else to realistically just show you all this attention and affection. Because even if Chris did go above and beyond, in no way, shape, or form do I think you was going to choose him at the end. I 100% expected you by the end of the season to stay with Ace, and you did just that. That was the man you came into the villa feeling because y'all already met or whatever the case was. You was going to leave the villa with that man. The entire season, you was talking about Ace. Even from like day 1, day 2. You was team Ace all through and through. Like even down to Austin. You were trying to pretend like you give any kind of fucks about this man. But your actions showed otherwise. Because the second Ace would pop up, you would cut whatever you and Austin got going on and run off with Ace. So in no way, shape, or form do I think Chris was any kind of a threat to Ace. You did this whole hoopla for no reason. And it just did not look good for you in the end. I'm sorry. You my girl. I love Shelly. I love Olandria. But like, let's just call a spade a spade. Like, I really can't believe you were sitting there upset that she was actually exploring this man because you thought, well, she kept saying she brought him back for me. It's the notion that everything she was doing was for me. You're on a reality TV show, competition show, baby. Nothing is ever going to be necessarily for you. There's going to be an intent of I'm trying to win behind whatever the person is doing. So I'm sorry, Shelly, you do have to take a L here. Well, that was my thoughts and opinions about the Love Island reunion last night. Please let me know down in the comments how you feel. I'm very open to having discussions about whatever y'all want to talk about. Just be nice about it, because if you come at me crazy, I'm gonna come back 10 times harder. Just know. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because I will be doing more reviews this week, so stay tuned. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.